Hello, Bobcats. This is Mrs. Wilhite. We are now starting Chapter 10. We're looking at Lesson 4 today, multiplying whole numbers and fractions. We already know it is a 5th grade standard, something we are required to do in 5th grade. I'm hoping at the end of today's lesson that you'll be able to multiply a whole number and a fraction. Why, Mrs. Wilhite? What's the big idea? What's the main idea? Why am I spending time on this? Well, recipes deal with fractions, and sometimes we have to double recipes, so we have to times it by 2 or cut it in half. But today we're going to be looking at multiplying a whole number by a fraction, and you'll definitely use this later in life when you have to cook in your kitchen. What do you already know about simplifying? Something that we've already worked on in Chapter 8 and also Chapter 9 is simplifying fractions. So an example would be this improper fraction. The numerator is larger than the denominator. So hopefully you remember that we can simplify this fraction by setting it up in our division problem. We have the divisor as 3. That's the number of groups. How many groups of 3 can I make out of 14? Well, I know that I can make 4 groups of 3. And if I subtract that, I have 2 left over, not enough for another group. So I can go ahead and create that fraction. 2 becomes my numerator, and I keep that same denominator of 3. So we remember, hopefully, that when we simplify 14/3 as an improper fraction is equivalent or equal to 4 2/3. And we're going to be simplifying today. So remembering how to change that improper fraction to a mixed number will help you. All right, Bobcats, here are those steps. So take a moment and pause the video and write these down. Step 1. You need to write your whole number as a fraction. You can always put that whole number over 1. So 1, create that fraction. 2, we're going to go ahead and multiply. 3, simplify your fraction. Put it in simplest form. And last but not least, is it reasonable? Does your answer make sense? All right, math in my world. Example number 1. Wild parrots spend 1/6 of the day looking for food. How many hours a day does a parrot spend looking for food? Well, I know step 1 is to create a fraction, and 24 is a whole number, so I'm going to change it to a fraction by putting it over 1. So 24 over 1, it now is a fraction. Step 2 is multiply. I'm going to keep 1/6 the same. I haven't changed the fraction. The only thing I changed is that whole number became a fraction. Step 1, make it a fraction. Step 2, I got to multiply. Well, I know 1 times 24 is 24. And I know that 6 times 1 is 6. So I've created a fraction. Step 1, make that fraction. Step 2, we times it. We got our answer. And now step 3, we're going to go ahead and simplify. Can I make this improper fraction turn into a mixed number? Absolutely. Let's go ahead and simplify. 6 divides into 24 4 times, or I can make 4 groups of 6. And if I subtract, there's nothing left over. So the answer would be 4. Is it reasonable? A wild parrot spends 4 hours a day looking for food. That makes sense that I didn't get a fraction because they wanted to know how much time they spent looking for food. So it's around 4 hours. Guided practice. Find 1/2 times 4. Make sure to write it in simplest form. Well, step 1 is to make that whole number become a fraction. So we're going to write 4 as 4 over 1. Anytime you have a whole number, you can go ahead and put it over 1. It doesn't change the value. So 4 over 1. I did step 1. Step 2 is to go ahead and multiply. 1/2 doesn't change. So I can times it. 4 times 1 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. Step 1, I created a fraction. Step 2, I multiplied. Step 3, I can go ahead and simplify. Can I change this improper fraction into a mixed number or a whole number? Absolutely. Let's go ahead and divide. 2 divides into 4 2 times, and there's nothing left over. So what is 1/2 times 4? Well, the answer is 2. And that makes sense because 2 is half of 4. All right, moving into independent practice, we have to multiply and, of course, write it in simplest form. 1/3 times 12. Step 1, make that whole number turn into a fraction. Put it over 1. Step 2 is to multiply or times. 1 times 12 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3. Step 3 is to go ahead and simplify. We're going to change this improper fraction into a mixed number or a whole number. How many groups of 3 can I make out of 12? Well, I can make 4 groups of 3. So the correct answer would be 12/3 is equal to 4. So 1/3 of 12 is 4. And really, 4, 8, 12, 4 is 1/3 of 12. It makes sense. Moving on to problem number 3. Step 1, create that fraction. Put it over 1. Step 2 is to multiply. 1 times 20 is 20. 4 times 1 is 4. Step 1, made a fraction. Step 2, I multiplied. Now I'm on step 3. I need to change this improper fraction so I can simplify it by dividing. How many groups of 4 can I make out of 20? Well, I can make 5 groups of 4. So if I go back to see if it's reasonable, 1/4 of 20 is 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, and it is. 5 is 1/4 of 20. It makes sense. It's reasonable. Moving into problem number 5. Go ahead and do step 1. Make it a fraction. Put it over 1. Step 2, multiply. 1 times 7 is 7. 5 times 1 is 5. Step 3, we need to change that improper fraction into a whole number or a mixed number. We got to simplify it. I can make 1 group of 5 out of 7. There's 2 left over, not enough to make a group of 5. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that 2 up as my numerator. And the denominator stays the same, that 5. So let's see if it's reasonable. What is 1/5 of 7? 1/5 of 7 is 1 2/5. All right, moving on. Let's look at number 6. Step 1, I need to change that whole number 14 into a fraction. Put it over 1. Step 2 is multiply. 2 times 14 is 28. 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, step 3, we can simplify. How many groups of 3 can I make out of the number 28? Well, 3 times 9 is 27, so I can make 9 groups of 3. There's 1 left over. I can't make a group of 3, but I can use that to be my numerator. And my denominator stays a 3. So if I go back to the original question, 2/3 of 14 is 9 1/3. All right, Bobcats, 12 times 1/6. I like how this problem reversed it, how the whole number is the first one you see. It doesn't matter the order, commutative property, so it's the same process. Make that whole number a fraction, put it over 1. Multiply, 12 times 1 is 12. 6 times 1 is 6. Step 3 is to simplify, change that improper fraction to a mixed number or a whole number. I can make 2 groups of 6, and there's nothing left over. So let's go back to the original question. What is 12 times 1/6? Well, I surmise the answer to be 2. I know it's reasonable because 2 times 6 is 12. So 2 is 1/6 of the number 12. All right, let's move into some problem solving. I told you that the skill today is going to be used when we're cooking. Here's a problem where we can apply that. Arletta is making nacho cheese dip for a party. She needs to make 5 batches. How much salsa will she need? Well, here's the question mark. How much will she need? And they're asking for salsa. So if I look at this chart, I know that she's going to be using this amount, the salsa, which is 1/2. How many batches? She needs to make 5 batches. So she's going to have 1/2 times all 5 that she'll make. Step 1, make that whole number turn into a fraction. Put it over 1. Step 2 is multiply. 1 times 5 is 5. 2 times 1 is 2. Step 3, simplify your fraction. That improper fraction, you can change it to a mixed number or a whole number by dividing. How many groups of 2 can I make out of 5? I can make 2 groups of 2, and I have 1 left over. So that 1 becomes my numerator, the top number of my fraction. And then my denominator will stay the same, 1/2. So let's go back to the original question. That question mark means I have to have an answer. And it says, how much salsa will she need to make her dip? Well, she's going to need 2.5 cups, I want to label, right? 2.5 cups of salsa to make her salsa. It makes sense. Maria ate 1/4 of a pizza. If there were 20 slices of pizza, how many slices did Maria eat? Well, my question's right here. Here's the question mark. How much did Maria eat? Well, she ate 1/4 of 20 pieces. So can we figure that out? Absolutely. Make it a fraction. Step 1. Step 2 is to actually multiply. 4 times 1. Step 3, we can create that improper fraction into a mixed number or a whole number. How many times will 4 divide into 20? How many groups of 4 can I make? I can make 5 groups of 4 with nothing left over. Now I'm going to go back to the word problem. How many slices of pizza did Maria eat? Well, I established the answer is 5 pieces of pizza. It makes sense, or it's reasonable, because it says 1/4. 5, 10, 15, 20. If I multiplied 5 by 4, I do get 20. So I know I have the right answer. All right, Bobcats, what did you learn today as we enter into Chapter 10, Lesson 4? What is something that stands out to you? Well, in summary, today I learned that you can multiply a fraction by a whole number. When you're multiplying a fraction by a whole number, you will get an answer that's either got to be a mixed number or a whole number. And you'll use that when you're cooking in the kitchen or when you're trying to figure out a part of something, a piece of something. So thank you for your attention, Bobcats. Have a wonderful day.